Vikings. Actual Vikings. Not a topic I was expecting to find an excuse to explore in this whiskey-based podcast. But this is a loosely whiskey-related podcast, and I found a connection. Even better, it's not just any Viking. It's a man who became a legend in his own time, whose true story sounds like it could be part of their mythology. A man who discovered a country. This is his story. Behind every bottle is hundreds of stories, every step starting from growing grain until it reaches your glass. This spirit is collecting experiences and stories that I would love to tell you. It's my goal to sift through these stories, find the most meaningful, and bring them forward to your attention. This isn't another whiskey review channel or show. This is pure storytelling. I won't analyze every detailed tasting note of the spirit in the bottle. Instead, I'll dive into the details of the spirit behind the bottle. And this is the spirit of Floki. This story is set in the 9th century, the Viking Age, and starts with a man who isn't Floki, but a different man named Nadelver, who upon setting sail from Norway got lost while trying to reach the Faroe Islands, and got so far off track that he wound up reaching Iceland by accident. Once landed, he surveyed it and saw no signs of human life, just endless snow. So, he called it Snæland, or Snowland, and that's it. Iceland is now discovered. Actually, another Viking named Gardver Salverson would also reach Iceland by accident, managing to circumnavigate the land, proving that it was an island. And when he returned home, he humbly called it Gardversomli, or Island of Gardve. So why am I telling you a story about Floki? Well, Nadelver and Gardve both accidentally reached this island of ice. Floki sought it out intentionally. Snæland, Gardversomli, they were both treated as rumors. Floki heard these rumors of the untouched land and was determined to find it, see what possible resources awaited discovery there, and if possible, to settle on the island as a new home. Floki's journey would start in western Norway, where his family, consisting of himself, his wife, and their 2 daughters, were joined by 3 other men, named Hrolfr, Foxy, and Throlf, who all boarded Floki's boat along with any animals and livestock the family had. It is unknown why exactly they wanted to leave their home to search for this uninhabited land of rumor. The Vikings at this time were well known for their wars and raids in Europe, and the fact that Floki was captain of a ship suggests that his life before this journey was not a peaceful one. So perhaps he was looking to escape another battle, or maybe he wanted to start a new life, away from his memories and tragedies of war. The first leg of their journey would take them to the Shetland Islands, a known Viking settlement, but it is a step closer to their destination that supposedly lay far to the west. This stop would allow them to rest and restock supplies, and was supposed to be one of the easier parts of the journey. But there is never a guarantee of safety. A devastating loss occurs just off the coast. One of his daughters had drowned. This journey had only just started, and already it had such a high cost. With no written account of the incident or what took place immediately after it, I can only imagine the conversation between him and his crew. I can't help but believe that the rest of his family would be distraught, urging him to give up, just end the journey at Shetland or the Faroe Islands. They can stay among the settlements there. They don't need to risk the life of their other daughter or each other in an attempt to find a new land that may just be a rumor, and even if it does exist, there's no one there. Maybe the other three men had a different opinion and tried to convince him to continue. Or maybe Floki and his family wanted to honor his daughter, continuing the journey, but for whatever reason, the small crew refused to give up. The next stop would be to the Faroe Islands, another step to the northwest, and also inhabited with Viking settlements. This journey would go much smoother, and after reaching in one piece, they restocked the ship and evidently spent some time on the islands. Maybe this was to appease his family, or maybe it was time for them all to grieve the loss of his daughter. But during this time, his remaining daughter would be married, and so the ship gained another crew member, his new son-in-law. Here on this island, we're also going to take a quick break, so we can discuss how the Vikings managed to direct their ships. Technology like a sextant wouldn't exist for hundreds of years. They navigated purely by the position of the sun and the stars. But what do you do if it's a cloudy day? How can you navigate by the sun if you can't find it? Well, according to their writings, they use something called a sunstone, a type of crystal that we still don't fully understand today. The leading theory is that a specific crystal which can be found in that part of the world happens to have the unique property of refracting light rays into two separate beams. So, if placed over an image, it would look like there were two slightly offset from each other. This is believed to have been the sunstones, and that the Vikings would mark a dot on one side of the stone, then aim that dot at where they think the sun would be. Then they would attempt to get the two resulting marks to look equal in brightness. Using this technique, modern scientists have gotten within 2 degrees of the sun's position during a very overcast day, well within the margin needed for the Vikings to navigate, especially if they know which direction they need to head. Floki, however, does not know what direction he needs to head. He knows that the land is supposed to be to the northwest, but if he misses the island, he could overshoot and be lost at sea. But he has a plan, an ingenious solution for finding the island. While on the Faroe Islands, he purchases 3 ravens to take with him. It is believed that he chose ravens as they are said to represent Odin, and this could have been a way of asking for divine help from the Allfather, a god who is said to have wandered the world. He was now equipped to take on the final and most dangerous task of the journey, to find this land of rumor. The small crew set sail, protected from the harsh, icy ocean by their wooden longboat, crashing into the waves, not knowing what waited for them, if anything. Eventually they reached a point where there was no land in sight on any horizon. Nothing but the unforgiving Atlantic. This is where Floki's ravens were needed. He released the first of his birds, which soared upwards, then turned and flew back the direction they had come from. So they sailed onwards, eventually freeing the second raven. Like the first, it flew upwards, this time circling the boat before landing on the ship's mast. Further still they sailed, only one raven left. I imagine if Floki gave a quick prayer to Odin, then released their final hope, watching it fly up into the air, circling overhead before it settled on a direction. The bird had seen land, and Floki just had to set their course in line with that of his third raven. It was due to this feat that he earned the name Floki, or Raven Floki. Soon the wooden ship found the land they desperately sought. Their first glimpse of the island was a large bay, which is now the modern capital. The crew decided to sail further around the island to the northwestern side, where they finally made landfall. The Icelandic summer was mild, allowing the settlers to easily hunt and fish, never having to worry about going hungry. This gave them a false sense of security, though, as when winter came, it was harsh and cold, and, in the ease of summer, the Vikings, who were more likely warriors than farmers, neglected to collect and store hay for their livestock. It was during this long winter that Floki attempted to survey the land further by climbing the mountains. Atop the highest peak, he could see the massive fjords full of ice. Likely the last thing he wanted to see. More ice. When winter thawed into spring, the small crew decided to return to Norway. Back home, he claimed that the land was inhospitable and worthless, a frozen island, or Iceland. The other men on his crew would dispute this, saying that there were both good and bad qualities to the new land. Due to the secluded nature of Iceland, it would become a refuge for those Vikings looking to escape from war and feuds. Despite his harsh claims about the land, Floki and his family would also return and spend the rest of their lives on the island, leading some to believe that he made those remarks in an attempt to keep people from emigrating. And that's where this story will end. In modern Iceland, just inland from the bay that was first spotted from that wooden ship, there is now a distillery, which happens to make a whiskey named after and honoring Floki. Also, if you like smoky flavors, they even have a release where the grains are smoked in a twist of the traditional Icelandic method of meat preservation by using sheep dung. This is also a bittersweet moment for me because it is the end of Season 2. It may be a while until another episode is released, so please make sure you join my mailing list in the description to know when I crack open the next bottle and share the next story. But for now, I'm going to enjoy a nice glass of whiskey and keep my eye out for any guiding ravens. Next time on The Spirit of, we're going back again to Prohibition. But not to any big city gangs. Instead, we're going to rural Montana, where homesteads allow for newfound freedoms and moonshine flowed like water. Two women took advantage of these new freedoms, and we're going to cover both of their stories in the next season. I'll see you there.